All right, everybody, it's the Combatcast. It's the man they call Dave. It's Chevy, and we are going to talk about the PFL championship this weekend. We're going to talk about this past weekend's fight night card a little bit. And before we get started, Chevy, tell people what we got coming up.
All right, December 2nd, UFC Fight Night, Dariush versus Sarukian. And then December 9th, UFC Fight Night, Song versus Gutierrez from China. And then December 16th, UFC 296, Edwards versus Covington from Las Vegas.
So there you go. That's what we got coming up. All right, let's get to it this week. Chevy, what did we had this weekend? We had a fight night card.
Yeah, we had a fight night card. Before we talk about the co-main and main event, just want to shout out to the Chase Hooper-Jordan Leavitt fight. That was a good matchup. Very exciting grappling on the ground while it lasted. Chase Hooper got rocked while he was on the ground, but then quickly reversed it into a submission. He got a rear naked choke on another great jiu-jitsu guy. So he's been looking pretty good at lightweight. Glad to see him doing well.
Yeah, he did say before that I'm very well aware we're two of the least intimidating guys on the UFC roster, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah, but for sure. Physically and, personality-wise, for sure.
Yeah, right, for sure. But I actually, it's funny. I didn't get to watch a lot of this card. I did see that fight, and I thought Hooper looked really good. So
yeah, he did. He looked great.
Impressive.
All right, on to the co-main event: Michael Morales versus Jake Matthews. Did you get to see this one?
I saw part of this. I saw the third round. I saw Michael Morales look like he was in control, and I mean, what did you think? Why don't we just go with that before I have an idea here? What did you? Because you saw the whole fight, obviously.
Yeah, Jake just had a hard time getting inside of Morales' reach and his speed in round one, and then round two was pretty even, but Morales put a flurry on at the last 10 seconds or whatever, and kind of stole the round. So it's tough for Jake. I think he did some things in the fight well, but matchup wise, I think Morales is just very hard to fight with that reach, and he's very tall in the weight class, very composed also, especially for a youngster. So I think that he's going to be tough to deal with going forward. If the UFC brings him along correctly, which they have been lately, I think he's an exciting prospect.
He's 16-0 right now. He's 4-0 in the UFC. I was actually thinking maybe you can put him in there with a top 15 guy next, but I'm talking top at the very top 15. But it is welterweight too, so I don't know if you maybe still want to do another fight, because if you look at two of the guys, I think they were 14 and 13. You're looking at Neil Magny and Michael Chiesa. So I'm not saying those are big jumps right off the get-go. Right there.
I think maybe you give him one more before you get to the top 15. Welterweight is just full of killers, so maybe you throw him a good grappler next and give him one more. He's still very young, so there's no rush to move him along.
Right.
All right, let's talk about the main event, which was a great fight. Brendan Allen versus Paul Craig.
I thought Brendan Allen, what really impressed me was how well he hung on the ground with Paul. He clearly was the better striker, which isn't, crazy, because Paul doesn't always have good striking. But, Paul going down a weight class, I thought, at least in the grappling, he might be able to push people around. He did not push Brendan Allen around. It was quite the opposite from what I saw. And it was compelling, but I thought Brendan Allen also looked like he was in control of this. And I thought this was a very impressive performance. And to me, this is a guy now who's won 6 in a row. He's 11-2 in the UFC. And I think he's ready to move up. You know what I mean?
6 in a row, 5 submissions, I believe, too.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So.
Yeah. I was looking at Jack Hermanson is the guy who's directly above him. I only mention him because a lot of the others are huge names that I think may have fights already. I mean, unless they can get a Paulo Costa or a Marvin Vettori. I know Paulo's been injured, but I mean, Hazmat Shemaev. All those guys, though, I do feel like somebody, I don't know if they'll want to, but one of those guys should fight a Brendan Allen next, because he's been on that kind of role. But maybe Hermanson is going to be the most likely guy they could get next, if that's the case.
I think Costa or Vettori should fight him next, to be honest with you. He might have fought Jack Hermanson at some point already. I vaguely remember that being a fight.
Yeah, I didn't see it on there. Yeah.
So, but yeah, as far as the fight versus Craig, Allen really put on a show. Like you were saying, definitely levels above in the striking department, which I thought he would be going into this fight. But able to submit a larger guy who is also a submission expert himself. He's just at a new level right now, and he deserves a big fight next. So like we were saying, I think personally Marvin or Paulo needs to fucking fight. He needs to, you know, shit or get off the pot. But as far as Paul Craig, I have seen people talking about how he should go back up to light heavyweight. I don't think that's the case. I think maybe you give it one more shot at middleweight. I think he just came across the wrong guy on Saturday. I think he's very dangerous at this division for sure.
Yeah, I am curious. Like his initial fight, I thought maybe this was just a big step up in this particular weight class for his second fight out. Maybe Brendan Allen just has his number, or maybe Brendan Allen is just that damn good. You know, we'll see. But regardless, yeah, I'm with you, Paul. Take one more fight and then see where you're at. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to a little bit of news. Before we get into this card, PFL has acquired Bellator. You know, we've heard rumblings about this, how this was in the works for months, but it was finally acknowledged online. I think it was broke via Hawani or something like that today. So, immediate thoughts on this?
See who shows up. You know, do you get the contracts of an AJ McKee? Do you get Patchy Mix? Sergio Pettis. If you require the top tier talent in that promotion, then it should be very interesting to see how they perform in the PFL format, you know, with some of these tournaments and stuff like that. Like right away, Bellator always had a really good bantamweight division. So adding that to the PFL, it's very interesting. You know, and like I said, AJ McKee, you know, there's some really good talent in Bellator on the top level that can make PFL interesting. Now, at the end of the day, you know, we can't get it twisted. Like this is still not a company that's going to rival the UFC anytime soon, at least in terms of viewers or, you know, I would say even buzz. Although, if Francis Ngannou does fight for them, that's where it gets very interesting, which you'd like to think he will. But me and you are both wondering, since he did so good at boxing and there's so much money to make at boxing, you know, when will we see that PFL MMA debut?
Well, I was, you know, on the PFL website prepping for this, and the first thing that comes up when you go to the PFL website is win tickets to Francis's inaugural PFL pay-per-view fight or whatever. So they certainly believe he's still going to be fighting for them. Like, you know, if that's really going to happen, we'll see. But so some of the things that broke with this. So the roster is now equal in quotations. I believe this means in size to the UFC's roster, which is too big if you ask me. But they also announced something called Bellator International Series. I have no idea what that means because they're not just absorbing Bellator. They're going to hold on to it as its own entity, its own promotion for at least some amount of time. So that must be the new name for it or something like that. It's going to definitely be broken up into a different promotion.
And you got to do that Francis Ngannou, Ryan Bader fight, as much as Ryan Bader might be scared, because you're gonna you know, let's just unify any heavyweights and stuff like that. That's where you make it interesting, right? You know, Francis going after the Bellator heavyweight title, and then now we're gonna get into this card here. Obviously, I'll show it up again here for a second. With the heavyweight fight later in this tournament, is that the PFL heavyweight championship? By the way,
yes, it is.
All right, so there's two fights right away you could do with Francis and stuff down the road.
Well, PFL will not have Ryan Bader fight Francis because he's just a boring grappler. And if he beats Francis, he's going to make him look really bad. So I don't think they would do that fight. Nobody wants to see that unless he's going to do what Francis does and knock him out in 30 seconds. But I think the chances that if Ryan gets a hold of him, he just holds him down for 5 rounds is the cons outweigh the pros in that situation, I think.
Perhaps you're right. I will say this, though. I do remember what happened when Ryan Bader, rest his soul, tried to tackle Anthony Johnson there, how that worked out for him. So
very true.
So
that was a long time ago, though.
It was. And I will say this, too. With Francis, one of the things, him doing all these boxing fights, I know he's only done one, but if he's doing more, you do wonder when Francis comes back to MMA how those other skills will still be. You hope they're sharp. But
very true. But they did also announce that they're going to be doing a mega event in 2024 where it will be PFL champions versus Bellator champions. So
gotta do that.
You have to do that. If you buy a promotion, you absolutely have to do that. So looking forward to that one. I'm sure it'll be a pay-per-view, probably more expensive than this one coming up, which we're going to get into right now. The PFL 2023 season championships going to be $50 pay-per-view. I believe this is PFL's second pay-per-view. The first one did not do very well last year with Kayla Harrison headlining. We'll see how this one goes. Few prelim fights to keep an eye out for. Chris Wade versus Bubba Jenkins. That's a lightweight battle. They fought multiple times before. I believe they're 1-1. But both exciting fighters, so keep an eye out for that one. And then Ray Cooper the third versus Derek Brunson, who's making his PFL debut. Middleweight, Ray Cooper the third, if you're unfamiliar, 2-time PFL middleweight champion. So
over Rory McDonald too.
Yes, excellent wrestler, also nuclear right hand. So tough fight for Brunson for sure.
See how that goes.
Little mix up, not quite sure how the card goes. So if this is not the right order, forgive us. But I believe the feature bout in the prelims will be Kayla Harrison versus Aspen Ladd at a catch weight of 150 pounds.
All right, so I did research for this one. Harrison, 15-1, 6 KOs, 6 subs, 3 decision. Aspen Ladd, 11-4, 6 KOs, 2 subs, 3 decisions. I think this is an interesting fight because we really don't know how good Kayla Harrison is. She dominated a lot of the competition before she had her first loss by decision over an opponent she beat twice, who's fighting later. I struggle with her name, but we'll get there. Whereas Aspen Ladd has had that UFC competition, but in a PFL, she's won 1, lost 2, I believe, as she's going over here. So, in fact,
I think she only lost once.
Let's take a look here because we rushed this one today a little bit, folks. All right, so she's 1-1. She lost 1 and then she just won 1. So I'm interested to see what Aspen Ladd can do with Kayla Harrison here. There is a little bit of a size difference, and Kayla Harrison's going to have that grappling edge, obviously. So I would say smart money is Kayla Harrison by decision.
Yeah, well, I don't know how much of a size difference because Ladd always misses weight for her fights anyway, so she better not miss weight for this one. I think this is the heaviest she will have fought at. But Kayla took a year off after her loss in the championships. I think she dominates anyone, but a motivated Kayla is going to come and punish her opponent. So I think she beats up Aspen pretty bad and finishes her via TKO in round 1. I just don't think that Aspen's on that level yet. She's still, progressing. Kayla's at the peak. All right, let's keep moving. There's a lot of fights on this card.
Hit me with it.
All right. Light heavyweight fight, Joshua Silveira versus Impa Kasanagane.
All right. Joshua Silveira, 12-1, 5 KOs, 6 subs, 1 decision. Impa is 14-3, 3 KOs, 4 subs, 7 decisions. I like Severa here. What do you think?
Yeah, Joshua's finished all but one of his PFL fights, so I think I'm going to go with him by round 2 KO.
All right. There we go.
All right. Featherweight, Gabriel Braga versus Jesus Pinedo.
All right. Featherweight. This was the one that I did not do research for. Gabriel is 12-0. So he's got 5 KOs, then 7 decisions. And his opponent, who was his opponent again here?
Jesus Pinedo.
Why don't you give me his record? Because I'm having trouble here.
I don't have his record. I don't write those stuff down. That's the Dave thing.
That's my job. So who are you picking here?
All right. So Braga already beat Pinedo earlier this year in the season before beating Marlon Moraes and Chris Wade. So I think he's already got Pinedo's number. I'm going to go with him by decision.
Okay.
I'm just upset that my boy Brennan Loughnane is not. He should be in the title fight, but he lost earlier this year. He's off training with Connor, which isn't going to make him any better, obviously. So disappointment all around. But
NATO, by the way, is 22-6, 15 KOs, 4 subs, and 5 decisions, 1 draw. But I will take your word for it that the guy who beat him and is undefeated will probably win this fight.
Probably a safe bet. Yeah. All right, let's move on to welterweight. Oh boy, I can't wait to pronounce this one. Magomed Magomedkerimov versus Sadibou Sy.
All right. This was also one that we missed here. All right. We're rolling today, baby. Magomed is 34-6. Jesus. 13 KOs, 9 subs, 12 decisions. And his opponent, how did you say that name? Sadibou?
Yep, Sadibou Sy.
Sadibou Sy. He's 16-6-2. 1. I'll go with the man named Magomov, who's got a lot more experience. How about that?
Yeah, Magomed also already has a win over Sy, not this year, but in previous seasons. Plus, Sy is very boring to watch versus anyone that wrestles. So I'm rooting for Magomed, and I think he's going to win via decision.
All right. Keep it rolling.
All right, women's featherweight. Larissa Pacheco, which she is the girl that beat Kayla last year. And then Marina Mokhnatkina. Hard Russian name, you know?
Larissa's also got a win over Julia Budd, too.
Yep.
She's 22-4.
As does Aspen Ladd, by the way. She had a win over Julia Budd.
Okay, so 11 KOs, 8 subs, 3 decisions. Marina is 11-3, 1 KO, 6 subs, 4 decisions. Given Larissa has the momentum with a win over Kayla Harrison, I'm just going to pick her. I'll say she's rolling, and she gets the decision.
Marina's never been finished, and I think that's going to continue. I think she knows how dangerous Larissa is on the feet. I think Marina gets a boring decision just trying to hold Larissa down the whole fight.
Okay.
All right. Heavyweight. Denis Goltsov versus is it Renan or Henan? Ferreira.
Ferreira this is not our best work. Ferreira is 11-3, 9 KOs, 1 subs, 1 decisions. Dennis is 32-7, 15 KOs, 11 subs, 6 decisions. I'm going to go once again with the man with experience here.
Yeah. Also, producer Joe in the chat. That's why we're choking in here, by the way. So, yeah. So heavyweight, who cares? They're not Francis. Do we think either guy has a chance to win versus Francis? Goltsov is way more well-rounded, so I'll go with him by 3rd round sub.
Goltsov it is. I love it. PFL.
All right.
Hey, I know.
Lightweight. This is the main event. Lightweight, Clay Collard versus Oliver Aubin-Mercier.
Yeah, Mercier's 20-5. 4 KOs, 8 subs, 8 decisions. Clay Collard is 24-10-1, 11 KOs, 3 subs, 10 decisions. Both these guys got wins over Stevie Ray and Shane Burgos. They're 2 very skilled fighters. There's a reason why this is the main event. I like Mercier here. I like Mercier by decision. I think he knows how to I don't know if this is the way to say it, but he just knows how to win. Like when he's fighting guys that sometimes you think, oh, he can't hang with that guy, then he'll find a way, even if it's not pretty, to get a win. And he's one of those guys, like kind of like when Mighty Mouse was first coming up. I'm not putting him on the level of Mighty Mouse, but if you remember, he had that fight with Benavidez where he was super close split, and then they came at it. People started sleeping on Mighty Mouse's power, but the technique was there. Mercier is that kind of guy, too. He can knock you out. He can choke you out. His record might not show that, but he's just a complete fighter. And I feel like that's where he's going to have the advantage here over a very well-game fighter himself, Clay Collard. But I just feel like Mercier a little bit better.
Yeah, Clay is the superior boxing for sure, but I'm with you. Olivier is too smart. His fight IQ is excellent, so he won't get in a brawl with Clay. He's going to clinch with him, like you said. Maybe not the prettiest thing, but he's going to do what he has to do to win that $1 million. And I think that ends in a decision for him.
All right, fans. Sorry, we're not as familiar with the PFL fighters. Some of them we're trying, we're getting there, but that's what we think this week. All right, enjoy the PFL. We'll be back next week with we got.
Yeah, UFC Fight Night, Dariush versus Saruki, and I'm very excited for that matchup. That was an excellent matchup. And then December 9th, UFC Fight Night, Song versus Gutierrez. And then finishing up with December 16th, UFC 296, Edwards versus Covington for the welterweight belt.
All right.